My mother-in-law took my husband's inheritance, and then the lawyer revealed a big surprise. Hearing about my husband's will felt like being in a courtroom drama. I sat in the lawyer's office, trying hard to stay calm while my mother-in-law, Josephine, looked like she had already won. With a proud look, she almost sneered, "Everything belongs to me." The lawyer nodded politely at her, but his face changed as he picked up another paper. "Actually, Mrs. Cole," he said, "there's a special message for you." Josephine's smile disappeared. She squinted at the paper. I felt my heart beat faster as I watched, unable to look away. This moment was like a sudden twist in a movie, but it was real. I introduced myself. "I'm Sue Ellen, and I was married to Joseph for 10 wonderful years. We built a life full of love, laughter, and dreams, but there was always a problem. His mother, Josephine." Yes, his mother shares his name. And I should have seen that as a warning sign. It didn't take long to see that she hated me. She disliked every woman in her son's life. From the start, she made it clear she thought I was not good enough. "You're just after his money," she would say, ignoring the fact that Joseph and I had worked hard for everything we had. Josephine always tried to control Joseph, treating him like a child. When we married, she felt betrayed. No matter how hard I tried to be the wife he deserved, she saw me as the enemy. And Joseph, he kept trying to earn her approval, hoping she would change. But she never did. Even when he became sick, she barely cared. It broke my heart to see him desperate for her love while she stayed cold. 6 months ago, Joseph died. His illness had given us time to prepare, but losing him was still hard. Before he died, Joseph updated his will because he knew his mother would try to take everything from me. That's how we ended up in the lawyer's office, with Josephine sure she had already won. The lawyer read the will slowly. "To my beloved wife, I leave our home, our savings, and all my personal belongings." Josephine's confident face wavered, but she quickly acted as if she knew she would still get his investments. Then the lawyer paused and said with a slight smile, "I continue, I leave." He stopped and slid an envelope across the table. "This is a personal message." Josephine's eyes hardened as she grabbed the letter and began reading. Her face flushed and her hands shook with anger. Suddenly, she slammed the letter on the desk. "This is a joke," she shouted. I leaned forward and asked, "What does it say?" The lawyer gave me a copy. I read Joseph's words and felt a lump in my throat as tears welled in my eyes. "Dear Mom, if you're reading this, you probably think you've taken everything from my wife, but there's something you need to understand. You never could, and you controlled me for most of my life, but you won't control her. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. But in my final moments, I found peace knowing I had a wife who truly loved me. I could have forgiven you, but I couldn't. You never gave me a mother's love, and for that, I owe you nothing. Everything I have goes to my wife, the woman who stood by me when you never did." The room fell silent. Josephine sat frozen, her face full of anger. Suddenly, she pushed the letter aside and yelled, "He didn't mean this." He was sick. He didn't know what he was saying. The lawyer stayed calm and said, "I assure you, Mrs. Cole, he was of sound mind when he wrote this. According to his wishes, you won't get anything." Josephine turned on me, her eyes burning with rage. "You did this. You turned him against me," she screamed. I looked her in the eye and said quietly, "No, Josephine. You did this to yourself." She jumped up quickly, her chair scraping on the floor. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I'll take you to court. That house should be mine. That money should be mine." The lawyer leaned back and said coolly, "You can contest the will," but Joseph made sure it was airtight. "You'll just be wasting your time and money." Josephine looked between the lawyer and me, and for the first time, she seemed to realize she had lost. With one last angry glance, she stormed out and slammed the door. I exhaled deeply. Even from beyond the grave, Joseph had protected me by standing up to his mother. I felt a mix of relief and sadness knowing he had chosen me, chose us. But something told me this was not the end, and I was right. That evening, when I went into the living room, I froze. Furniture was overturned, paintings were broken, and papers were scattered everywhere. It looked like someone had stormed through the house in a blind rage. My hands shook as I took a step back. I quickly ran outside and called 911 with trembling fingers. The police came fast and searched the house, but the person who did this was already gone. Nothing valuable was stolen. Only things were destroyed. It wasn't a robbery. It was a message. I knew who sent it without any doubt. Josephine wasn't finished. For the next few weeks, my life became a nightmare. Strange cars parked outside my house at odd hours. Trash bins were knocked over at night, and dead flowers appeared on my doorstep. I barely slept, always feeling like someone was watching me. One night, a knock at the door made my heart race. I peered through the peephole and saw Josephine. I was scared and tired, but I knew I couldn't hide forever. When I opened the door, she stood there with a cold, mocking smile as she looked around. "I'm not going to stop you," she said sarcastically. I said nothing, and she smirked even wider. "You might think you've won, but this isn't over." Leaning in, her voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "You took my son from me. Now I'm going to take everything from you." Her words hurt, but they also gave me strength. This bitter, controlling woman had tried to ruin Joseph's life, and now she was trying the same to me. I stepped forward and said firmly, "Listen, Josephine. You've already lost. Joseph saw you for who you really are. No matter what you do, you'll never win. This house is mine, my life is mine, and you have nothing. You did this to yourself." For the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes, but it was gone quickly. She gritted her teeth in anger, then walked away into the night. I knew this wasn't the end. The next morning, my attorney called, and what he said changed everything. I had hardly slept because I could still hear Josephine's harsh words. When I answered, he said, "We have a problem." I asked, "What now?" He explained, "Josephine has filed a new lawsuit. She's claiming that Joseph had a secret will, one that leaves everything to her." I was shocked. "A secret will? That's absurd," I whispered. He continued, "I know, but she filed the papers, and worst of all, she has a witness." A chill ran down my spine as he said the witness's name. David, Joseph's best friend since childhood, his best man at our wedding, and the person who had been with me at Joseph's funeral. He added with tears in his eyes, "I trusted him completely, and now he is siding with Josephine." I immediately called David. When he answered, his voice was calm, but it felt distant. I pleaded, "Tell me this isn't true. Please, David, don't help her." There was a long pause. Then he said, "I don't want to get involved, but Josephine says Joseph changed his mind before he died, that he didn't want to leave everything to you." That felt like a punch in the stomach. "That's a lie, and you know it," I shouted. "She has a document, David." He hesitated and then whispered, "I saw Joseph sign it." My vision blurred with anger. "Are you lying to me? Is she paying you? Are you betraying your best friend for money?" I demanded. "No," he answered quietly. I hung up, trembling. I couldn't let this happen. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to my attorney's office. When I arrived, he was already looking over the new will. "This is a forgery," he declared. Joseph was careful. He wouldn't have made a second will without making sure everything was legal. I clenched my fists. "How do we prove it?" He showed me the original will and pointed to a part. "The signatures don't match. They're similar but not the same. We need a handwriting expert." Then he looked at his computer. "There's something else." The screen changed to a video of Joseph. His face looked thin and tired, but his voice was strong. "Ever, if you're watching this," he began, speaking directly to the camera, "it means my mother is trying to take what isn't hers. I knew this would happen. Even from beyond the grave, I am making it clear. If you try to steal my inheritance by lying in court, know this: the new will is worthless, and David's lies mean nothing." His voice grew firmer. "Because I outsmarted both of you, even from beyond the grave." I felt cold as I listened to his words. Joseph knew everything. He knew his mother and David had been cheating him for years, even before he died. This wasn't just about money, it was about all of their secrets. Then he said something that sent a chill down my spine. "I know you stole from my father, from the company, and I know you paid David years ago." I couldn't breathe. Joseph had known from the start that this was about everything they had done, and now the truth was coming out. The video ended and the room was quiet for a moment. My attorney let out a low whistle in shock. "That changes everything," he said. I asked, what did he mean by a trap? My lawyer's eyes lit up with determination. "I think we need to find out." We started going through all of Joseph's records, emails, files, anything we could find. What we discovered shocked me even more. There were forged documents, odd bank transfers, and clear cases of fraud. Josephine hadn't just tried to steal from me, she had been stealing money for years. Money from her father's estate was funneled into fake companies, sent overseas, and cleaned with David's help. I sat there in disbelief, shaking. What do we do now? I asked quietly. My attorney smiled determinedly. We won't just defend ourselves. We're going to bring them down. The next day, we pressed criminal charges: fraud, theft, and conspiracy. Josephine and David were about to face the law for all their lies. Later that afternoon, Josephine came to my house. She looked pale and scared, and her voice trembled as she said, "Call off your lawyer. Let's make a deal." I stepped forward, meeting her eyes, and said firmly, "No." For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. She had always believed she could bully and control everyone. But Joseph had seen through her even from beyond the grave. The evidence was clear: bank fraud, money laundering, stolen funds, and electronic transfers all tied back to her and David. David wasn't just lying, he was helping her cover everything up. We gave everything to the authorities, and soon they closed in. Josephine's downfall happened quickly. The IRS froze her accounts, stopping her stolen money. Shortly afterward, the police raided her home. I woke one morning to sirens outside her house. The news soon revealed that financial crimes linked to the inheritance were being investigated. I couldn't believe it when I saw Josephine being taken away in handcuffs. Her proud look was gone. She searched desperately for someone to help her. David tried to escape the country in a panic, but the police caught him in time. The trial was fast. The evidence was clear: stolen money, fake accounts, a forged will, and bribery. The most powerful moment was when Joseph's second video was shown in court. His long, intense message moved everyone, and the room erupted in applause. I'll never forget the look on Josephine's face when her own son exposed her lies. Her jaw tightened, and she slammed her fists on the table in fury. It was clear that she had lost everything. The judge quickly sentenced Josephine to 15 years in prison for financial fraud, while David got 10 years for his part in hiding her crimes. They both had to pay for all the deception and hurt they had caused. But the final blow came when, even after her defeat, Josephine sent me one last message. I received a short, angry letter from prison. "You think you've won, but you think you've won without Joseph. You took him from me, and I will never forgive you." I stared at the letter for a long time, feeling the pain of her words. Then I decided what would hurt her the most. I put the letter away, never reading it, and let it go. In the end, Josephine lost everything: her money, her home, and the false reputation she had built over the years. As for me, I sold the house she fought so hard to take, and with that money, I started a new life, leaving behind the pain and memories. Standing there, ready to move on, I realized that Joseph's greatest gift was not just his final act of defiance. It was his love. Our home had been a battleground, but our love was its unbreakable foundation. Even though Joseph is gone, he remains in my heart. With every step, I carry his love and the bond we shared. In the end, Joseph had won, and that was the sweetest revenge of all, not because I took anything from anyone, but because even after death, Joseph and I triumphed together, proving that true love never dies. Thank you for reading. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.